Welcome back to the Winner's Circle, and as promised for you, it's champion breeder of South Africa for 6 consecutive years. We are most privileged to have in our Winner's Circle studio Mick Goss, all the way up from Summerhill stud down in Moy River. Great to have you here, Mick, and we're just 10 days away from the big race and the big sale.
Thank you, Nico, and I'm here by the grace of God, as you know, for a Zulu farmer who was the only vehicle on the road on the way to work in the mornings to encounter what I saw this morning. It was like facing an MP.
But you've come armed, and the catalogue is full of good horses. There's a lot of depth in that catalogue. We'll talk about the sale in a moment, but just talk to us now about, you know, just as champion breeder, you guys going from strength to strength. You've held the title now 6 consecutive years, and you must be really proud of your whole team.
Oh, I am, Nico. You know, it's been a big grind, and it's obviously a plan coming together. I'm a great believer, though, that you can plan whatever you like. You need good people. You need the luck of the rubber, the green. You need a whole lot of things to conspire in your favour. It's a wonderful privilege, though, to head up the breeders' log in this country, because it's the most competitive breeders' log in the world. There are only 6 farms that have ever aspired to the championship in recorded history. So we're talking about something that is deeply competitive, and there are some wonderful breeders and phenomenal horsemen in this country. I mean, we only have to look at the Hong Kong jockeys log to know that, or the top trainers in the world, and our breeders are up there with them. So yeah, I just think South Africa is one of those countries that was born with a halo around its head. We're very lucky in the environment we live in. We're lucky with the horsemen we work with, and it makes up for a lot of things in the genetic field where we don't quite have the shekels to be able to compete internationally.
Well, just going back a couple of weeks ago, we had the ready-to-run gallops that took place out at Summerhill Stud, and these were the horses that are going to be sold on Sunday, the 7th of November. Yeah. And people could see them breezing past and all that. That, again, has become a big event for you guys.
Well, what was encouraging was that it was 30% bigger in terms of turnout than we've ever seen at the gallops, and I think that tells us something. But I think the whole package is exciting. You know, what we've tried to do is to put some fun back into the game. Yeah. You know, sales can be drab things otherwise. You just turn up, you look at the horses you buy. The ready-to-run's become an event, I think, and correctly so. And it's been embraced, fortunately, by some of the more serious players. I think the guys that give up their time to come and judge, you guys from the media who come out there to play your part, have altered the whole landscape. And you can see how popular it's become. I mean, the evening before was jammed with some of the great personalities of the game. You'd hate an H-bomb to fall on Hartford House that evening, because we'd wipe out everybody who matters in the game. But beyond that, you know, I think the number of people that stayed behind to hear the panel's views will tell you that that's a dimension that's unique in the world. Where in the world do the top horsemen, who are players in the market, offer their views on the best prospects and then have to go and compete for them at the sales?
In the ring,
And I think it says something about the generosity of spirit of the people who sit on that panel, that they're willing to share. But it also tells you about the people on the other side who are watching the panel and taking in their views, because at last there's a connectivity there. People have come to realize that when you've got 7 of the top guys in the country sitting, offering their views on something, it's worth sitting up and listening.
It's, as we said, a very strong catalogue. You and I spoke about it before, talking about it on air now. Lots of depth, lots of international pedigrees.
Strongest catalogue I've ever seen at a ready-to-run. I mean, you could confuse this for a national sales catalogue in a sense. All the top stallions are there, from Jetmaster, Fort Wood, Western Winter, Silvano, Kahal, Mutafal, the old-timers, El Mufti, Jalad, the exciting new horses, VAR, Tiger Ridge, Dynasty, Black Minolush and Way West, all in there, creating a phenomenal vibe. And we've never seen horses of this ilk. And then internationally, Dan Silly has got 2 in the sale. I mean, this is phenomenal. Bred to Southern Time. He's the sire of the most accomplished horse in the world this year, Harbinger. Rock of Gibraltar had 5 Group 1 winners last year, and we have Gibraltar Blue here from Mike de Kock, advertising his value. Loose of Quality, the sire of Smarty Jones, amongst others, and the highest rated horse in America this year, Quality Road. Royal Academy, 160-odd stakes winners in his life. This is the very last crop of Royal Academy. Smashing Colt going into the sale. Hussein, Hardy Annual in South Africa, one of the most successful international sires in South Africa. 7 times a champion sire in South America. Fusachi Pegasus, a legend in his own right. Cloverflay, have a son of Fupeg in the sale. So yeah, I think you couldn't pray for a bigger spread of top sires. But you know the amazing thing about the Ready to Run is so many good horses from unfashionable backgrounds. It doesn't really matter who their fathers are. The wonderful thing is if you can back your judgment by looking at a gallop and picking a horse with obvious credentials.
And you don't have to spend that big money. I mean, we go back to the story about Pierre Jourdan. You know, Pierre Jourdan cost 60,000 rand. He's a multi-millionaire racehorse.
And there's a legion of them. You know, the best son of Gold Press. Here, the drums came out of there. He's almost a multi-millionaire. Dynamite Mike cost 42,000. He lowered the colours of JPEG in the Guineas. You know, Kathmandu's a millionaire, and he's still not a stakes winner. Icy Air was a multiple champion. She cost 60 grand.
She nearly won the Met.
Absolutely. She was that far out of the Met. She won, effectively, what was the Fillies Triple Crown. She won a Guineas, the Will Avington, as it is today, and the Oaks. Winning Leap was a cheap horse. As a 3-year-old, won the Gold Bowl. I mean, phenomenal.
It's unheard of. Let's just tell people about the sale as well, and let's just get those facts on. It's happening on Sunday, the 7th of November at the TBA Sales Complex at Gosforth Park. Now, for first-time buyers, you guys operate on a 6 checks scheme, which helps people, certainly in these economic times, to afford a racehorse too. I mean, people don't want to spend all that money at once, and you guys are pretty reasonable with your terms.
Well, it kicks in at 60,000. So if your aggregate purchases are 60, you get 3 checks to pay, and then it's a sliding scale. It goes at 200, you qualify for the 6 checks. So effectively, you're not having to outlay more than about between 20 and 30 grand a month. And that's within the reach of many more people than where you've got to sign the check in 25 days and hand it over. And it's been very popular indeed. It's made access, let's acknowledge this, just about all the top farms in the nation are represented at this sale. Where in the world is there isn't anywhere in the world, is there a sale where you can buy from the top breeders in any country on terms? And without having to pay any interest. You only end up paying interest if you duff, if you don't pay, which means it falls within the National Credit Act. So the whole thing is intended to create a broader base of people who are able to play. And you know, it's a great statement about the democracy of racing that last year a man who was a former electrician took on a ruler of a country, a sheikh from Dubai, at 2.1 million rands. And admittedly, the sheikh won in that case. But he turned around and he bought a horse for $1 million, the next one through the ring, and she's favourite for the race.
Well,
so
I want to move on to
here's this great range of horses, you know.
I want to move on to that because the race this year, again, it's worth $1.5 million. Just tell us, this horse called Igugu, how she came to be in South Africa anyway. She's a daughter of Galileo and she's top class. She's won 3 out of 3. And she's topping the preferred candidates log. Andre McDonald forked out $1 million. I see you guys got back in.
Yes, and there was an offer of $5 million for her the other day. So it'll tell you that she's turned out to be and I mean, Mike de Kock feels it's light. So, you know, there's no question of anybody accepting it. But the point is that what looked like quite an expensive buy last year is now an international bargain. You know, Galileo averaged nearly just on 5 million rands at the English sales the other day for unraced horses. This filly comes from the international Aga Khan family of Zarkava.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was looking down at the pedigree the other day.
Beautifully bred.
It's unbelievable. In fact, in retrospect, $1 million
was cheap.
Sounds cheap.
It was.
Yeah.
But I think the remarkable thing again here is that it exemplifies the spread that you'll find in a ready-to-run sale. And again, as I said, you know, the best son of Parade Leader, the best son of Alami, the best son of Woodborough, the best son of Makaram, the best son of Deep Sleep, they've come out of the sale. So they don't necessarily have to be a smart father, you know. And if you look at the entries, you'll find a very broad.
There's the log. Now Igugu effectively at 98, being the filly, tops it. Chiquetti is second. Draconian from the Charles Led Stable. He's got a couple there. Hollywood Boulevard, who I think will see out the trip. Then you've got Dominic O'Driscoll. Al's Mark, there's been lots said about Al's Mark. Ran a good race last time out against Bermuda Winter.
My goodness, there's talk about him. It's almost like, you know, he's almost becoming the stuff of legend, Al's Mark, just on the basis of what he's done at the race. I know Anton Marcus thinks very, very highly of the horse. And the good thing is, you ask about how Gugu comes to be there. There was a time when there was a danger that this thing was starting to look like a Summerhill benefit, as it were. And we just felt we needed to introduce some serious alternatives into the sale. Now, I think 4 of those Australians have run. Son of Anabar for Jerry Ramsden won first time out. His affidavit, the Husinate Colt of Charles, led 6.5 lengths first time. Hollywood Boulevard, 8.5 lengths the first time. And then, of course, Igugu. And I believe Mike de Kock has another, the expensive filly from last year, the Galileo filly, that he thinks very highly of. So all 5 of last year's international entries have come right up to the plate. And I think that's encouraging.
Yeah.
But it's great to have a race like this, where the favourite is a daughter of the most famous stallion in the world.
It's unbelievable. And she's, you know, just the way and the manner that she's won. What I'm also happy about from a commentating perspective is that a lot of the names here are pronounceable.
Do you remember the year when we had Ghazi and Mbongi? And Clyde, you know, I mean, he's shocking with his Zulu names. Hey? And he was saying the 2 Zulus.
But it looks more like we're going to cope this year.
Yeah, no, I think you'd be right.
Well, there's a couple of Chikeches and Mfuto and Mhlaba and all that.
It'd be distressing if you could get Chiketi and Chegeche in the same finish. But it looks like you might be held safe with Elsmark and Igugu.
Yeah. So the sale's happening on Sunday, and as you say, there's 2 million to chase for.
Yeah.
On next week's show, we're going to have a look at those ready-to-run gallops and see some of those horses in action.
Yeah.
And then, of course, it's Charity Mile Day as well. You sort of dovetail with a Charity Mile Day too on the Saturday the 6th. Always a great day. And Empress Palace, well, what more do we have to say about Bob Urim and his team?
And, you know, I mean, for what he's been through personally, old Bob, it's just incredible. And, you know, he's been appointed now as the CEO of the gaming businesses of the whole group. So it's not just Empress Palace anymore under his wing. But he deserves it thoroughly. I think he's a visionary. We all know he's a visionary. And racing just happens to be one of those things that he's tapped into. But I was just looking at the entries the other day. It's a wonderful day's racing. I think there's 6 stakes races on the day.
Marvellous day, yeah.
It might not be the strongest charity field, but it's probably the most competitive field in the sense that there's a fantastic array of horses in there with a shot. Yeah. And I'm not sure that it's going to go to the top of the boards because, you know, there's some pudding being carried there. They talk about Pierre Jardin being able to carry 61.5 or 62, whatever it may. I have my doubts. He's not a big horse. He's bigger than he was, but he's not a big horse. But if you look at the form of the Joburg Spring, there's an enormous number of horses in there.
Yeah, they're stacking up.
Absolutely, given the changes in the weights. Yeah.
Mick, we're going to have to leave it there. Always a pleasure chatting to you. I know we'll cover more on the sale and the big race on next week's show. But all the best to you. Thanks for coming up to Joburg.
No, thank you,
Trip back down to Moy River.
I think the traffic will be easier as I leave.
Thanks a lot, Vic.
Many thanks.
Thanks very much. So stay with us after the break because we'll have a look at the selections for this upcoming weekend's racing.